It's your desired success mastermind, all around paying it forward with the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have done unto you. Now, the power of the mastermind, when shared by Napoleon Hill in the world famous book of Success, Think and Grow Rich, he actually said, it is the principle through which you may borrow and use the education, the experience, the influence, and perhaps the capital of other people in carrying out your own plans in life. It is the principle through which you can accomplish in 1 year more than you could accomplish without it in a lifetime if you depended entirely upon your own efforts for success. Now, what we've actually got here right now is the foundation of the mastermind, where we're going to let everybody know exactly how we function during these calls. So, Carolyn, if you'd like to start.
Sure. The purpose of the mastermind is to share our value and connect with like-minded people in order to create wealth in all areas of our lives.
We are here to inspire and challenge each other and reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success, as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during these meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces, one mind, one soul, one love.
Beautiful. Thank you for setting the foundation there, ladies and gentlemen. So today's topic that came up for me was your expectations. And I'm just going to read something that that came up around this. Was, if you would like to accomplish something, you must first expect it of yourself. If you would like to accomplish something, you must first expect it of yourself. So when it was really interesting, because one of the things that I've reflected on quite a bit recently since starting in the 90-day success challenge is because the majority of that is focused on self and implementing the foundation of our own growth. Then one of the areas was exercise, and literally my whole life used to be about exercise, going to the gym. Thanks, Beth. Can I have my water as well? Got it. Thank you. My whole life used to be around the gym, sports, training, and just being involved in that arena. And I did it for many, many years. And it was only when I hit the depression in 2014 that I actually decided to step away from it all. I felt like it was just all too much. I've been doing it for so long. And even though there's plenty of studies to support physical exercise and mental health, I just had enough. I just didn't want to do anything anymore. Yet before then, when I go back to 2010, I actually decided to challenge my body as far as I could take it, physically and mentally take it, which was to basically take it onto a stage and do all the poses and check me out in my little thong. Well, it wasn't to go onto the stage in a thong, and that wasn't my interest. It was just to see how far I could actually take my body, where I could go to, and what I could do up here, and certainly around the mindset. So I remember that when I decided to start, I already saw myself how I wanted to look. I could already see it. And I remember that when I had an apprentice at the time, because I was doing my carpentry and building then, and he always used to call me fat. He always used to tease me and stuff. And I wasn't, but I didn't have a six-pack. And he always used to prod me, and he did have a six-pack. He was only 16. He could eat McDonald's every day, and he still over there have a six-pack. And I was like, I remember when I was your age, all that kind of stuff. And anyway, I remember about 6 weeks in, we're getting changed in the change room, and he just went, what the hell? Because everything was starting to really define, but I was already seeing it. And the action that I was taking, which I often talk about, aligned action, was helping it come into physical form. But it was also around the mindset of it all. Thanks, Beth. Cheers. So when I was thinking around your expectations, and this is any area of our life, whether that be mental, physical, spiritual, whatever it would be that we're looking to manifest. When I heard this, and I don't know who had wrote it or said it, but if I heard it from Wayne Dyer, come on, out you go. If you would like to accomplish something, you must first expect it of yourself. It made me really start thinking about my visualization, started thinking about my goals. How am I stepping into that? Are they really true to me, or am I being influenced by external factors in regards to what my goals should be? Like, so I know that Wayne was asked many years ago by somebody who was interviewing him and said, so what you're telling me is that if I'm 5'6" or something like that, and if I want to be playing in the NBA and slam dunk, I can do it. Or a quarterback for the New York Giants or whatever it was. And he's like, and Wayne turned around to him and said, do you truly see yourself? Do you believe that you can be a quarterback for the New York Giants or a player in the NBA? And he said, no. He said, well, then you're not expecting it of yourself to achieve it. So I'd love to hear from you in regards to, when in the past have you felt, or rather, but in reflection, when you look back, you actually already expected something of yourself and it came to reality? And also, where right now are you creating expectations of yourself to move in the direction, to be surrounded by the people, to achieve whatever goals, projects you've created? I'd love to hear from anybody who's got something they'd like to share. It's a pretty deep question. But I didn't come into this life to play small.
If no one wants to share, I'll go. Unless Carolyn wants to share. Can you ask me the question again? Because I do have an answer. I just need to rehear you.
Yeah, okay. So these questions are channeling through me, so it might not be exactly the same as I said it. So when in reflection, when you look into your past, can you reflect on and say there was a time when you expected something of yourself and that came to fruition? And then moving into the now, what are you wanting? What do you expect yourself to create moving forward?
I had an intention at the start of the year. I did a workshop on the 1st of January, and all it was to find out my source connection of my intention, not around anything major, just whatever source told me. Well, source told me that I would be an authority of my soul in my business, and then in my personal, I would be embodied internal presence. Now, when I got that as my intention for the year, I thought was how on earth, what does that even look like? Like,
Yeah, wow.
You know, and why would they give me that? Like, why didn't they give me, you know, you're gonna have a 6-figure business and you're gonna be a teacher, not an actual energy healer. Forget that. You're gonna be this. But they didn't. That's what they gave me. So I surrendered to that, and I had no attachment. I just felt into that and saw myself as that, as what I at the time knew that may be, without knowing what that really is, like fully. And then as my year went along, with no attachment or expectation, I had moments where if that was the case, it created for me to have an experience with certain people to create that. And I spent 48 days with an avatar. So those 48 days, even though it was online, created 3 days before I saw this thing, and I asked, am I meant to be doing this? And it said yes. And I had no money in my bank account to pay it. And within that 3 days, money came from the government. I paid for the course and I sat with an avatar for the next 48 days online live. Now in that, I saw my eternal presence. I witnessed what the connection is, and what I had seen previously actually was true. And so I witnessed what the now thing is, right? But because I spent 48 days with an embodied divine presence on the earth, I got to experience that subtly. And now that we're at the end of the year, I understand that all of my healings, especially in the last week, have been me as eternal presence. I'm authority of my soul. Everything I saw at the start of the year has created, and I didn't need to do anything. Just show up when I got guided and trust my awareness and guidance. And even though I didn't have the money there, it came as soon as I said, yes, I'll do that. I'm trusting what I'm being guided. Okay, I'll do that. Send me the money if I'm meant to. And it just rocked up.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
I'm going to go, wow.
Just with that, Carly, you said I didn't have to do anything, just show up. So
just be it. Yeah.
So, but in that moment, you were, well, okay, let me think about this. In that moment, do you believe that you were actually just being totally present?
Yes.
And not allowing
yes.
external things to influence you, you just being you?
Yes. Just fully trusting the entire universe, trusting that the message I got must be real. Like, didn't go into any mindset, just if it's meant to be, I'll just receive it. And it just received. Like, I just trusted. I didn't go into anything.
So the easiest way for us to logically understand it based on an analogy would literally be getting in the rowing boat and pulling the oars in and letting the stream take you where you're supposed to go.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's fully getting in the boat with no oars.
Yeah.
And the boat takes you downstream or, down the river, and you get in and you fully 100% trust.
You do need the oars though, because when you're going down there might be a few birds you need to whack on the way. The birds that are trying to stop your boat from going down, you need to whack them. It's like in the Wizard of Oz, the witch. She's the fear. She's trying to stop you. You've got to whack the witch.
No, you trust the witch. You trust the rocks.
No.
You trust the water.
It's like that game, when you were a kid and you used to go to the fairground, and then there's like that they pop up out and you've got to whack them.
Yes,
that's what it's like.
We get it, but it's like trusting, no matter the obstacle, it will shift because you're in the boat trusting the river.
Yeah.
From the heart space, you've got to be in the heart to do that.
Beautiful share, thank you.
Well, just on that topic, that just blew my mind. That was beautiful. I just was reflecting about a couple of months ago. I'd been doing a lot of work with this particular lady around the water and had been really interacting with her and did her a loan machine, which she had it for a long, long time. And my expectation and sort of what the way she'd been talking to me was that, yep, it was a done deal, and it wasn't. And anyway, long story short, went down there, it didn't happen. And I was like, you know what? Wasn't supposed to be. But at the same time, within a 24-hour period, another person was like, yep, I'm in, jump, 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 who had been watching and been a part of the journey for a long time. So one thing I've learned in my journey over the last couple of years is that to have no attachment to things, to have expectations, and to be. And I think that comes from the training and the shift around money, because now I see it coming in all sorts of different places. Like every day I check my super and it's going up and up and up and up, and I'm actually not putting anything in it, but there's all this stuff that's flowing. And I guess there's an expectation there that my mindset around money has changed, and so it's coming. Whereas before there would have been there, I'm going to look, oh, I bet it won't. I bet it would have gone down. So there's an expectation of change and that it is happening, but being at the same time slowing down has allowed me to have more expectation and to be content also and grateful for where I am right now. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, Carolyn. And there's something that came up for me when you shared that. Do you feel that your expectation that you had created was out of your control because you had expected something from somebody else rather than from yourself?
Yeah, I guess it is expectation where they have to reciprocate or they don't. But at the same time, or I've learned that all I have control over is my response to that. So if there's a rejection or a no, not now, it's, you know, still keep interacting with that person, keep building a relationship with that person, because that's what it's about. And it's the same in any relationship. We all have expectations of our partners or our children, however that's going to be. But it's learning that they can have an expectation of us, but at the same time that we don't have to fulfill that expectation. We have to be kind and loving and unconditionally accepting, but not... If we don't fulfill that expectation, that's their issue. That's not our issue, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah. We can, and what I love about what you did there was when you'd mentioned you expected like the first lady to invest and move forward and connect from that side. Throughout the whole thing, the expectation was on you to show up and to give and provide that opportunity, and therefore it didn't come in the way that it was expected with that person, but the expectation that you put on yourself to grow and show up, it came in another form.
Yep.
And that's what I absolutely loved about what you shared there, and the lesson that I received from it was the expectation can only be on self. The results will happen. The results will just organically happen as long as I show up and do the work. Yeah.
Yeah. Consistency, consistency, consistency.
Can I just add? Because with that expectation, it puts in of others, it puts in a block. It's almost a form of judgment, subtly. And so it puts in a block of the organic nature of the universe giving you what you're desiring.
Yeah.
Because the other person, it's not up to them to give it to you. It's actually the universe that's giving it to you. The other person's, it may be coming through them, but they don't know that because they're not you and they're not your connection to source. And source is who's paying you. So the expectation on someone else is actually outsourcing, not from the universe, but from someone else. You've left home and God or universe and put the expectation on another human in that moment. And that's where the disconnect then comes and the abundance can't be received in whatever the desire was. the experience you wanted.
Beautiful.
Dan?
I don't know where to go from there. So I watched The Secret again the other day, because I was in lots of groups and they were all arguing about The Secret being not complete, which is a kind of funny argument. And I'm like, let me watch it again. And I get where they're coming from. It's kind of like step one, visualize what you want and expect stuff to happen. And you're thinking, in 90 minutes, how much can you fit in? Because they fitted a lot in 90 minutes when you watch it. And just go, yeah. So if you're expecting things to happen, and I've got the next point would be, obviously sometimes need to do the work. But sometimes that work is, are you expecting stuff to go? Yeah, so that was quite interesting to watch it again, and then have conversations with people and then go, nope, I think you're wrong. Because they're all arguing against The Secret being incomplete. And you're going, yeah, but it's step one, and step one is complete. They didn't say there wasn't anything else to do.
I think that's it's a really valid point that you brought up, because especially with how we in regards to the other mastermind that facilitate are diving deeper into the universal laws, you start to see how you have to move on to the next law. Like, it doesn't just end there. They all work synergistically. So, you know, like the law of thinking, which is the start. Everything's created by a thought. So you can't just sit there and go, you know, I'm going to have a 6-pack, and then, ooh, burger and chips. Like, it doesn't quite work like that. So, and yeah, granted, you can have healthy burger and healthy chips if they're homemade and so on. But the point being that even when we talk about the law of attraction, and I didn't know this until years later, after watching it, I didn't feel it was incomplete for me. What I received was exactly what I needed to receive based on that movie, and it's only through further growth that I've become aware that you move on from the law of attraction into the law of receiving, into the law of then increase, and so on. Now, one of the things that was shared was a friend of mine went to a John Demartini event, like a full-on like boot camp type thing. Yep. And John Demartini shared that a lot of what he shared was not featured in The Secret. So he actually shared it out when he was interviewed, but they didn't put it in. And Wayne Dyer, when he asked the question around it, chose not to be involved because they were not going to go to what society in many cases would go too woo-wooey. You know, even this book here, many people would say get the edited version because it's too woo-wooey. But the unedited version is where we go into the laws of frequency and the vibration and so on. So, and that's the important part. And one of the things that Bob Proctor was saying was people thought that Bob Proctor created the Secret because of how much he was involved in it. And Bob shared his story that he received he was getting notifications to say that he couldn't receive any more messages on his phone, like voice messages. So he went through them and he contacted his like PA and said, hey, I don't know, there's a number here. It's definitely an Australian number. And I think her name's Glenda. Well, can you contact her and find out? She said something about a movie. Well, he happened to be in the city doing some work. And anyway, his PA calls him back and she says, you're right. It's an Australian movie team and they're in this city and they're only in for a couple more days and they want you to be featured in The Secret. And this movie called The Secret, all about attraction, the law of attraction. So anyway, that's when he went and met them. They were just in a hotel down the road. Went and met them, did an interview for a few hours, and that was it. And he said that he believes that because he wanted to impact, he was clear on his mission and his vision. He wanted to impact more lives. He wanted to teach people about the laws and help them move forward. That he attracted Rhonda Byrne, who was the creator of The Secret, into his life, and she attracted him in. And since The Secret, Bob Proctor's business and mission and the lives he's impacted have grown exponentially because of that movie. So even when you look at the other people that were involved, and I've recently connected with a guy that was in The Secret and was part of the film crew. And I've been saying, and this really, when you look at it, comes down to the law of attraction. And I've said, I want to be surrounded by like-minded people who are striving forward, who are not living their life in a state of depression, not from a point of mental depression, actually depressing themselves, the greatness, like to help, to be surrounded by these people, to help me move forward, to impact more lives around the world. Next thing, this guy is like, hey, let's connect, let's do some stuff together. I'm like, how cool is that? But I put it out there with confidence, and I'm showing up, like we go back to what Carly had said, showing up that way. So I felt that even though I've been around people that have said, yeah, it was missing the law of action, and I get it, you know, like even the interview with Oprah Winfrey.
It was complete. The first law, like law of attraction, it was complete.
Yeah.
Like they can't go, like you could have done, 11 or 12 more movies and done every law.
Yeah. And even when, a good example of this was when Oprah Winfrey interviewed Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey said that he wrote a check for $10 million for rendered service, services rendered, and folded it and put it in his wallet and looked at it every day. Well, and he said in that interview, I didn't just sit on the couch and eat a sandwich. I went out and I did the work and I showed up every day doing what I had to do. And then 10 years later, he's Dumb and Dumber, bang. So there's so many instances, like especially with what Carolyn said, where we can often get caught up that it's going to come from here, it's going to happen here, and because we're so focused on that bit, we actually miss the great things that are shifting over here. We spoke about this, I think, last night, Carly, where we mentioned around most people don't even realize they're becoming a better father, a better husband, a better wife, a better mother, a better aunt, a better uncle, because they're so focused in many cases on the money. Because when they get around the friends, their family members, what's the first thing they say? Are you making any money? How's that business going? It's like, is that really all it's about? But that's because in many cases we've been led to believe that we exchange time for money. And that when we go to the job, I'm not picking on jobs here, but when we go to the job, we get paid $20 an hour, $30 an hour, £10 an hour, whatever it would be. And it's like, no, you don't. You do not get paid $30 for the hour. Because if you sat home and did nothing, you do not get paid $30 in that hour. You get paid for the value and the services rendered in that time period. And if you do not put action in that time period of value, you do not get paid with that reward of monetary.
Yeah, I love that, because I think I was brought up with money showed me from my parents and my upbringing that I was only valuable if I earned a certain amount of money from a certain great job. Like if I went to uni, I was more valuable. This is my family. I was more valuable than just me being a chef. But the thing is, the value isn't about money. It's about the value of who I am in this body as a soul, connected. I shouldn't keep using those words, but connected to my heart. Like the value in that is universal. And when I awaken that and believe in that, I can be anything I want. the avatar that I'm talking about in India, Petam, she can just think anything, create anything. Like if she wants to play an instrument and she doesn't know how, she just gets the instrument and starts playing. You see her often just playing. Like she doesn't have to go and learn it. She just is so connected, she knows it.
Wow. That's super powerful. Super powerful. So with what's been shared so far, based around your expectations, has there been something that's come up where you've thought to yourself, am I expecting in myself? Am I actually moving in the direction that I want to go? Is the way that I'm choosing to show up, the action that I'm choosing to take, aligned with who I am, how I want to be, and even with what I shared yesterday on a live, how I want to be remembered? You know, that expectation for self.
Yeah, there's something about ego in all of that for me. Like, where is my expectation sitting in me? Like, is it an ego mindset, my unconscious mindset that the community or my family lineage has brought me up to have this unconscious, subconscious mindset that I deserve all these things, so I expect them and I create them? Or are they me creating from my soul connection, actually wanting me to experience these things? Am I receiving the experience from my soul, or am I creating the experience from my ego soul? Because they're all one. So connection, depending on where my mindset sits. Is my mindset in my mind or in my heart? Because, like, when people talk about the legacy I want to leave, I struggle with that one, because I have no interest in what I leave as a legacy, even though I'm here to change humanity. I have no interest in being remembered for that, which may sound like I devalue me, but I actually have no attachment to that, or even have a need for me to know that. All I care about is being the right connection right now in this present moment. And if that changes you, Martin, if that changes me just walking down the street and I don't know that, I'm still one with being at peace with that. I have no need for my legacy to be known to me, because I just want to be present to now. And I know that's where the magic happens, and the miracles and the change for others. Like, if I walk past you, my presence right now affects you. That's the legacy.
So I've got a couple of questions, if I may.
Yeah.
Would I be right in what I've heard, that you're doing it for the cause and not for the applause?
Yes, because I don't know the end game. So I could have a mindset that puts me with an end game that I want to leave here and people remember me, but that's not why I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here to be present as eternal presence right now in this body, and serve however my soul needs me to when I show up right now. That to me is legacy.
So do you feel then that you are not inspired by any other human being?
I'm inspired by many human beings, because they're still God as well in a body.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still a soul in a body, but I'm inspired by what my soul tells me to do. And then from there, I go out and I vibrate or meet the people that have the same either inspiration or the same need to learn or share with me, so I can grow in what I'm being guided to. Like, it's a moment thing for me.
I'm just getting my head around that. I don't believe in any way, shape or form that you want the accolades or the applause for what you choose to do whilst you're here.
No.
I don't believe in that. And I don't even believe, even when you choose to pass, if you were to look back down, you wouldn't be like, hey, why aren't they applauding me for what I've created, what I did whilst I was here? However, I do believe, in fact, I know that we as human beings having this experience need to be able to learn and see things from past mentors and present mentors, people who are choosing to show up in their divine self, they're connected to the divine, and they help us reconnect. Because during that period, especially as a child who comes immediately from that divine, and then all of a sudden is one and connected to everything, all of a sudden starts separating and saying, okay, I'm Martin, that's a book, that's a window, that's a computer, and I'm now disconnecting from everything, separating it so that I can logically understand it.
Yeah, but why do you need to logically understand the separation?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah.
Well, I actually don't know that answer, but from the simple fact that with the courses that we've done, this is where we've dived in, and this is where we say we get disconnected from self.
Yeah.
Because we need to have this and we need to have that, and this, it's important to have all this stuff, and then all of a sudden we're like, who am I?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons one of my visions is to connect with the Aboriginal elders and communities, because especially the elders, because of their connection to the land, and they see themselves, everything's one. So I want to learn and see where I can take myself to have a level of appreciation, if not a knowing, as to what that is. Now, I also know that through me choosing to do that, I'm going to be sharing my experiences, and the people that come around me and that I meet are no doubt going to be inspired, not everybody, but they're going to be inspired by how I'm showing up, the conversations and that this kind of thing, which then helps them go on, and we're constantly creating an impact as we walk through it. But once again, I have no attachment to anybody saying, hey, Martin, come up on stage and like everybody clap at you. I'm grateful. I'm ready to receive that with gratitude, that these people have felt something and it's helped them move forward, but I don't need it to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. And really, when we're born, we aren't separate. But as we experience our family, and they've already mastered becoming separate from source as we get older, unless they're in a family that have always maintained connection, like the Indigenous cultures are definitely one with Mother Nature and remain their connection. And not all of us disconnect, but it depends on what we're here to experience. Like, I know with bullying, I definitely disconnected from my true self, or not even that, I stayed with my true self, but I didn't show up as that. I stayed hidden, knowing my true self, but knowing no one accepted me because it was bullied. And now I stand here in my true self, knowing that even if you bully me, I still love my true self, and you no longer have a stand in affecting that in your perception of me or your choices of words towards me. You no longer get to choose whether I experience bullying. I get to choose.
Yeah. Powerful. Carolyn.
Just on the legacy thing, I maybe have a different perspective, but I believe every choice that we make every day is leaving breadcrumbs of the legacy that we choose. And it's not by what we say, but it's by what we do. We can talk as much as we want, but people see the way we live our lives, the way we connect with other people. And I think expectation and the disconnection that you're talking about, that it's not our job to change the world. It's our job to be who we are, like you say. Know who you are, know what your gifts are. And as children and through the education system and all of those experiences, university and people we come in contact with, all of those change the child that we're born. And there's the expectations that go along with that, like you have to go to uni. Like I talk to my son and my nieces and everything, and it's like, I'm going to do more courses at uni, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And they see that as the way to make a better life. Which is just part of the education system, which I've been part from a huge part of my life, realizing that there's huge, big gaps in there, particularly for children and teens that don't fit into the box. They don't have educational mindset. So they're cast aside, or they're told to leave school because you can't do that course because you're going to bring our numbers down, which is how devastating is that on a young adult being told, well, you can't do that. You can't even try because your grades won't be good enough for our system. And I think that every day the choices that we make are leaving a legacy, and more so, not so importantly, the world around, but our family. Because if we can't make an impact on our family, and not from an egotistical point of view, but if they don't know that we love them and that we're here no matter what their choices are, then there's no point, as far as I'm concerned, in being leaving, because that's our family is our family, basically.
Beautiful share, Carolyn. Yeah. And that when you were speaking, then it really brought up the Mahatma Gandhi quote. And I went even deeper on it, and where he said that if we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. We need not wait to see what others do. Yeah. And that goes right the way back to, I think, because especially when, we've all got our own business, and the four of us on this call right now. And I think when we step into that, I mean, Stan and I had a really good call the other day. There's so many hats you're wearing, and you're jumping from here to here, and you're getting information, and it's all coming in, and it's exciting. It can be overwhelming based on if we let it become overwhelming for us, but it's new and it's exciting, and there's so much to take in, and we want more of it, and therefore more of it comes. Well, one of the things that I've literally learned over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, at this stage in my business, and I was started working for myself at 21, so 4 years ago, and yeah, okay, I'll face reality. 18 years ago, and it's taken me this long to become wise, that's where wisdom is, the length of time, the age, is to become wise to the fact that, hey, stop focusing and strangling all the business angles. Focus on self. Like, start implementing the universal laws. Think, how am I thinking? What am I actually then attracting in there? How am I giving, and so on, and go through this process. Now, some people go, well, that's overanalyzing it. But when we're consciously aware of what to do and how to do it, and how to actually speak to divine self, so one of the things we're the law of increase at the moment, Beth and I read through the law of increase, and then we had a discussion about it. And she said, I felt it was a bit airy-fairy. And I said, I got loads from it. So really interested. We read exactly the same chapter. We got two completely different experiences from it. she didn't, she's like, ah. I'm going, wow, that was so good. But I'm also immersed into it. So I'm like, literally, this is everything for me. So I've shifted, especially as brought up as a Catholic, as in God is this powerful man with a big halo and so on. And that's not me being judgmental at all. That's what I was brought up to believe. So when I'd sit down and pray at the side of my bed or go to church and kneel, I would pray to this man. That was our Father. That was what I was led to believe. Then when I went through what I went through, and I started listening to like Wayne Dyer and Abraham Hicks and so on, I'm like, hang on a minute. God is everything. God is love. God is the creator. It's not a man or a human form or anything. And then with the course I did recently, it was God is grand organizing design. And I went, whoa, grand organizing design. I am God. I am grand organizing design. Therefore, how am I designing my life? How am I choosing to organize my life? How am I choosing to create what I'm here to create? How am I choosing to actually show up and create that level of impact that the world needs right now and in the future generations to keep it evolving as it needs to? So all of this was just like so empowering that to receive it at this moment in time and then go, hang on a minute, why am I so focused on all the business tasks when what I need to do, I'm not saying they're not important, but when they're 90% of my day, there's a problem. Because the 90% would be better in going towards me and the whole grand organizing design of what the mind, and I'm not talking about the mind as in the brain, the mind, everything that I have, to create that and then go, hey, 10, 20%, let's look at implementing that. Now, some people will go, Martin, whoever your dealer is, I want some of that stuff you're smoking because it really is some good stuff that. But that's, I cannot deny to myself and to actually verbalize this to anybody and share the like voice this would be an absolute lie and me choosing to be dishonest. I've been there and I've grinded 4 days in a row and done the hours and doing everything that I can, the 14, 16-hour days sat in the chair, even the 12, 14-hour days physical labor. I've done all that and it helped me get to where I am right now. But there's no denying that my life in regards to achieving things that I've wanted to achieve in faster has and with more impact has come through choosing to let go and turn back and focus on self. There's no denying it. And therefore, that's what I tell people. And because it's a true paradigm shift, and I know it's a bit of a buzzword, but it's a paradigm shift. That we don't have to work hard, no pain without gain. We show up and we work in flow when we're aligned. And there's also something that came up the other day, and I said to Beth, isn't it really interesting how these things we're hearing, a lot of it's been told to us and we've allowed it to happen through conditioning, is they've manipulated stuff. And I'll give you an example. I will believe it when I see it. But when you go right the way back, especially on the law of attraction, when you believe it, you will see it. Like you think about that. I'll believe it when I see it. Whereas the other way, I'll see it when I believe it. So it will come to fruition, and that goes right back to what's your expectations. If you can already see it created, it will happen because we've got to step into that. We've got to own that space and feel that. Even like with Wayne, and obviously I've listened to Wayne recently, but Wayne would sit down and I haven't got a book with the wrap around it, but you know when you get your books with the wrap things on, and he'd literally get something like a book, it wasn't even his own book, he'd get a book and he'd give Hay House the title and he'd say, create me an image and the title, and he'd wrap it around the book and he'd sit there and put it down. The book's not even been written yet. and he would sit down and he would see the book written, and then he'd start writing. The book was already completed, and he'd start, off he went, because he could see it before it had even become like physical reality. Carly?
In all that, underlying all that is just a fear that stops people seeing it and believing it, including myself. And so what have you done in the past? Have you recognized any fears that stopped you from being successful with the magic, for an example, so that we've got a bit of an example, or anything that you wish to comment?
Oh, absolutely. There's been.
How did you work around that?
You know, one of the fears last year that I had was, and I think I shared this, it may have even been with Carolyn, I said, I don't know how to sell the water units. I don't know how to go out there and sell them. And people are like, what? And I went, something is literally, I felt like, and you're going to have to use your imagination here, I felt like there was a huge lead weight that just landed on me and I could not get out of it. Like it was like a dome of lead and I could not lift it, I couldn't move. And yet I've helped hundreds, if not thousands of people. I can chew the hind leg of a donkey talking about the company in the water, and I'm very passionate about it, but something came in and was saying, you can't do this. And I've sat there in this confusion and literally like I was chained. But I had everything within me, and that one goes back. It was the bloody bear, and I needed the oar to whack the damn thing. Well, no, I didn't. I wouldn't hit a bear. But the point being was that it always creeps in, and that was, once again, it's only literally come to me based on diving in deeper and challenging myself to put myself in a space where I then watched The Wizard of Oz for the first time properly and understood the whole thing. The whole movie was narrated by the guy facilitating the event. He kept pausing it, telling us what it was about. He literally spoke over the whole movie, and it was amazing, because up here was saying, oh, what a load of crap. Oh, I'm not into all this kind of movie and stuff. Literally, that's where I was at from when I was a child. I remember watching as a kid and going, ooh, let's put Transformers on. It was something like that, something that was a bit more cool. But what I received from that was then understanding that the fear is the witch, and it's to be understood and accepted and let in. Even with regards to, at the moment, we're watching the Star Wars movies. Wow, whole different view on watching those movies now. And that even with one of them that we got up to, I think it was 6 or 7, may have been 7, and he said the good side will take you so far, but you need to know the dark side. And it was like, dark side's the fearful, you shouldn't go there, but dark side's powerful and can help us move forward. So there was
sorry. I was just going to say, did you get to the core fear of that? Did you end up working out what it was under there that's held you in that box?
Oh, in that scenario, it was actually because I had spent so much time not going out there and doing it, and so much time really in creation mode of creating all this stuff at the back end, that I went, if the only reason why I've got this doubt in me is simply because I've not been, all that I did up to that point was in front of people. And then I spent pretty much all of 2019 building behind the screen. So then what I realized was, hey, I can create stuff online, but you know what? When I first started, I was like, I can't create anything online. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But now I've got the best of both worlds. I can switch between the two. So that was all that I feel at that time, that fear. And there's fear that always kicks in, and I just sit there and go, okay, well, what am I feeling right now? Why do I feel that this fear is here? And how is this serving me? You know, what's it teaching me? What is the lesson in it? And I get it all the time. Even, you know, I've got a few different businesses, and you know, so I think some of them as well is to look at and go, am I choosing to be in this state of fear to, one, protect me, which is basically the brain kicking in to protect me? Is that actually wanting to keep me in a state of comfort, or is it kicking in because I'm going against my values? And I found that sometimes it's actually because I've been going against my values.
Yeah, or is it when you receive it, you've got to own your value?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you've then got to show up and show yourself that you own that value you've just received. You've got to accept yourself.
Well, yeah, because then I'd look at, you know, recently I did at this event, I think I've said this on another call. I asked the facilitator if he believed, based on what he knew about me, if my core values were the three that I said. And he said, those are your core values, and they've got you to where they've got you to right now. But for you to go and move in the direction that you want to go and achieve your mission, they are not your core values. They will be in there, but they are not definitely your top three. And I went, oh, that's interesting. So he got us all out to write out something. And there was obviously a process to it. And he came around everyone in the room and he told you what your three core values were based on what you wrote. And he did it within the first paragraph. Even if people had written pages, first paragraph, he picked it up. And for me, it was gratitude, experience, and connection. And I sat there straight away in fear. I went, not a problem with connection or experience, but experience for me is actually connecting in nature, which is still connection, but its experience is getting outside and in nature and four-wheel driving. That's my experience in Australia. Even though this is an experience, that's how I was seeing it. And one, I was triggered because I said, that means that I've got to get away from the screen more. I need to be making more time for me. But then if I'm away from the screen, out enjoying myself, how am I helping other people? How am I helping them move forward? So there was one thing. And then the second thing was when I saw gratitude and I went, oh, gratitude. Well, everybody keeps telling me that people do gratitude wrong. Am I doing gratitude wrong? You know, and I started creating this story in my head that I don't do gratitude correctly or these things. And it's like, hey, hang on. As long as you are present when you're doing your gratitude, as you do it more and more and more, you will start to really get deeper and deeper and deeper into it. Don't have any expectation of what anybody else says is right or wrong. If you're stepping into that and doing gratitude for yourself and it feels right to you, that's gratitude. So that's helped me shift, because pretty much all my life, I let other people put their opinions on me. All my life. I blame my mother. and that was it. Martin was always the good boy. Martin did what he was told, went and did all that stuff. Kevin, my brother, absolute rebel. Mum couldn't control him. And that's where I look back and I go, wow, look at how much has had to shift for me to come back to self, to let go of the opinions of other people. So when I say a lot of this stuff, I actually say it from a place of experience, not, oh, so-and-so said this, I need to share that with you. I'm like, no. Like, I'm grateful to be a messenger, but I'm being a messenger with experience. Yeah.
Because
I feel like I'm talking way too much.
It's not just the other people getting wisdom from your experience. It's about you showing up, sharing your experience, and in that you're validating your own value to self of your experience.
Yeah.
And so even though you're showing up for others, it's a win-win for both, in the fact that you fully show up, own your truth, and then fully accept yourself.
Well, I think then that comes back to the intellectual experience versus the spiritual experience. Because the intellectual is learning all about it, reading all about it. Whereas the spiritual experience is actually going and physically doing it and feeling what it's like. And we can still have that when we step into that space where we're connecting with the divine, we're connecting with God, and feel what it is like. And then we have a shift. But I do know that Beth and I had a photo shoot recently, and Beth's got a series of photo shoots, and she asked if I'd come along with Hori the dog. And we went into nature. And one of the things that I was talking to the photographer about, who's super, super connected and love the way she works, was about an open heart. I said to her, the moment I think about Bessie, my dog, who as we know has passed, my heart is just boom, instantly, boom, open. And now when I went into this event, which was all about letting go and returning home, the first one that we did back in August, I went in there going, hey, I'm totally open. I remember saying this to Carolyn. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be the first to speak. I'm totally open. I'm ready for it. Do you know what? I was an arsehole in there. I was resisting everything. Like, when I say an arsehole, I mean as in my guard was up, and I would not own it, because my heart was so ripped apart with Bessie's passing, which was 10 days later. I felt there was nothing else within me to give. And therefore, because of all that grieving, I'd become strong to step into this space where now I had to do the work. So I put on this facade, this front, and he's talking to me, and I'm literally like challenging him on everything. And it was the final day where I just went, boom. And he said, Martin, you're in your head. You need to get in your heart. Final day, cracked open. And he said, you weren't doing anything wrong, and I don't see you as an asshole. He said, but you unconsciously had your barriers up. And you even went in and you spoke to us about Beth and said that Beth was struggling to deal with it. And you put Beth in front of you. How often do you put other people in front of you? And I'm like, all the time. He said, you've got to stop. You have to stop. Absolutely, Stan. Transformation Day. You have to stop. This is why you're here. Stop saying everything's fine, because it's not. And I was like, which also challenged me, because, you know, that thing of going, I am tremendous, I am powerful, I am strong, I am worthy. And then someone to come along and go, that's self-righteous BS. Stop it. And I was like, hang on a minute, I'm being told this and this feels right, and then you're coming in here and telling me. But it was literally that, and that's where so much, he said, because when you're saying all this stuff, he says, there's nothing wrong with affirmations and gratitude. I'm 100% for them, but not when you're not taking ownership and you're saying all this stuff when you're not dealing with stuff that's going on. You're just sugarcoating it. Oh, you're on mute.
It's definitely all about re-owning our emotional body. And we can't do that from our mind. We've got to be in our heart to really connect to our lower body, to connect to our emotions. Yeah. Our mind can only do so much. Our heart and our lower body is where we're fully present to the emotion, when we're in the lower body and connected. So, and we can't do that if we're speaking from our mind at a seminar or something, because we're got a plan, and that's the beauty of coming into the full body embodiment and speaking from your belly and your gut instinct the words would have been a different experience, and you probably would have been able to release some emotion through your truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of waiting for 10 days. But that 10 days would have been a protection as well, because I know how much you love Bessie. And so you never gave yourself time to even take a day off to just be in that 10 days. You just went straight into that. And if you'd taken even one day off to just fully go into Mother Nature and talk to her from your heart, you would have had a lot more ease and grace for the next 9 days. Yeah. But we all need to learn at different paces.
It's protection mode, and I know protection mode to me is dive in deeper and grind and work harder. I know that's my protection mode, which doesn't serve me, even though my logical brain says, "Woohoo! Look at all this stuff I'm getting done." It's like, yeah, but my heart is just being ripped apart. And I know that as part of, I felt that I got what I needed based on some other stuff that had happened in my life, that with Bessie's passing, it opened the door for that to happen. So my logical brain then was going, everything's fine, that's exactly why it happened, and I'm just logically processing it. Now that that's happened and this has happened, it's now time to move on. But my heart was like, no, mate, well, I'm not going anywhere. I've got my stake in the ground here, and we are going to deal with this. And the brain's like, no, we don't need to deal with that anymore. We're ready to go. I was like, hey, Nick, no, I am stronger than you, Carolyn.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what Carly said before when she asked you about Enagic and the business and relating that back to expectations. And I had experience the last couple of days with a lady that I met online who was, I connected with her through Instagram, and she had a really huge following, I don't know, like 25K people on her. And she was really interested in learning about sustainability. Like, that's what she's all about. And she connected with me and she said, I'd love to work with you. I'd get all my people to come to your course, like around the sustainability. And anyway, then she came back later and she said, oh, you wouldn't by any chance happen to be involved with Enagic, would you? And I went, yes, the water. And she said, oh, I had one of those machines years ago. And immediately her presence changed. She said, oh, Enagic's great, but we do another water filter. And she said, I don't want to expose my people to the expense, which I thought was really interesting. Anyway, I emailed a message her back and we chatted for a while. And I said, well, you know, obviously being exposed to Enagic, you would realize that it's not a water filter, it's a water ionizer. And I said, one thing I've learned in my business is the expectation around, oh, that person wouldn't want to buy that product. So there was this conversation, and so it was a really big opening door for me to show that I put expectations on who I then deal with, but she showed me that that's not the way, that's an expectation that we're actually stopping somebody to being exposed to this beautiful product because we believe it's expensive. But people that value their health and the way they feel and longevity and purchasing a good product that's going to last a long time, that's sustainable, they don't think that way. So it was a really interesting conversation then around what Carly said. How have our expectations affected our business, or how has that opened a door for then us to look at the way we deal with people in our business?
Yeah, great realization. And that was one of the, and I'm conscious of the time because I've only got to be on the next call soon. But even with these calls, so this is a really good example. The intention behind these mastermind calls is to bring people together who are like-minded, who are willing to share from a place of giving, as well as receiving from other people, because when we're all sharing and we're all being present, we're all giving, to help each other move forward as a group, as a society, individually, but as a collective, to move forward, to achieve whatever it is that we desire in our life, irrelevant of whether you're an employee, whether you're a business owner, irrelevant of that. We're all here to support each other to succeed in our journey. And yet I know for a fact that we have a challenge in regards to speaking to other people to bring them on, because we straight away have this voice that goes in and says, well, do you know what? They're busy. They don't have the time. I don't think it's going to be for them. And we create the answer of this person based on the question that we ask them in our head. Hey, would you like to come on a mastermind? And one of the things that we often have is, what happens if they say, well, what is it? How the hell do I explain it? Because you need to come on to experience the value of it. And this was, a good example of this was Diane. Diane came on and she was like, wow. And I said to her, I said, just come on, Diane, and make your own decision. And she came on and she's like, this is brilliant. This is exactly where I needed to be. So, and I think that's the power of it, is like, give people, and I often word it in regards to respect people enough to let them make their own decision. But when we show up and say, hey, I believe this will be of value to you because of X, Y, Z, then they are able to see what you see. Same with Corey. Corey messaged me and said, I don't know what you see in this, mate. Why do you? And Corey had the respect to ask me, what do you see this being for me? And I told him. And then he saw what I saw. That's the key. Sell the vision. When I say sell, share the vision with people. Let them see what you see. Let them make their own decision. And then together, if it's not for them, that's fine. But I'd rather give somebody the opportunity to say no than for them to turn around and go, do you know what? That's exactly what I needed 5 years ago. That could have helped me got out this rut. It could have just helped me deal with something that was going on in my life. And in fact, maybe a conversation that we have on here could save somebody's life. And you all know that I'm not saying that half-heartedly. I'm saying that with true depth and connection there. The conversation that we have on here could literally open the door to something far bigger that could help somebody remain here and serve the purpose for them being here. What an absolute blessing and honor to be a part of that. So I know we've gone way over time, but thank you so much for the conversation this morning that we've had. It's been absolutely beautiful and powerful. So my encouragement from here would be to have a look, have a think about, especially for those of you NG members in there, go in there and have a look at the life purpose section. Have a look at the goals. Have a look at what you put in expectations on yourself in regards to what aligns with you, not the expectations of others, what you can control. Because that's all that we can do, is control what we desire for self and the impact that we're here to make individually. And I look forward to you sharing that soon as well with me. And that's all. So thank you to each and every one of you. Go and have yourselves a tremendous day, and I'll see the gold stars on the next call soon. Bye for now.
See ya.
Bye.